So my grandfather was working in Haifa during the war in 48, and then he joined the resistance against the occupation, and then basically had to evacuate to Lebanon. And then my father was born in Damascus. And then...
He went to Lebanon and then Syria?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, they got a job in Syria after Lebanon. And then, my dad was born there in 1953. What's been weird with my whole background, I know so much about my Norwegian side because my grandparents and my mum, they just talk and talk. My dad didn't talk, I don't really think, for years until I started talking to him and like showing interest, because my brothers just went and one's a lawyer, one's a doctor, they live in the UK, they're quite like settled and happy in like UK life. And I think I was like the one that showed like real interest. When I moved here, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I grew up like desperately wanting to be English. Like I just wanted to be like everyone else. And now I feel like my views are different. But yeah, I just was always the one in the class with the funny name. And I mean, I'm very white passing as well. So it's not like immediately obvious because I'm also half Norwegian. But growing up, I wanted to be English. When I was 18, I think I maybe got as basic English as you could possibly imagine. I was like trying to fit in as much as possible. But I always felt so inauthentic. Like I never connected to the English way of life or who they are or anything really about them that I wanted to be in the most basic way possible. It was actually during COVID, like I stopped, and then the thing that really made me think was Black Lives Matter. And I wrote about this also in my thesis a little bit. Like Black Lives Matter movement gave me the language that I feel like I hadn't had before. And I was 24 at the time with Black Lives Matter. So they suddenly and also my coming here, also meeting more Arabs and being around people of color, Arabs, my Black friends, whoever it was, they changed the way I felt like I could speak about these things, and they made me realize how to articulate it basically. And I just it completely just cleared the fog of just how I felt about everything, and made me realize exactly what I care about, which is my identity. And it kind of also opened my eyes to how political an identity is. And then from that point I realized I quit my job, and then I said I want to study and I want to do something to do with Palestine, I don't know what. But then I realized I love people and I love communication, and so diplomacy seemed like a good option. I remember at the first big BLM march in Alexanderplatz, there was just the Palestinian, there was a section of it that was waving the Palestinian flags, and I was wearing the Palestinian flag around my neck, and I walked past them, and this old man basically just tapped me on the shoulder and pointed to my necklace, and he had a Palestinian flag, and we just didn't even say anything, we just smiled at each other. And I kind of just felt like community, I guess. And I think I 100% recognize my privilege, and I think this is also why I realized what I wanted to do. So I was I'm one decision away from it being something completely different in my life. That's what I realized. And I think during the Unity Intifada in 2021, I had really for the first time ever really weird almost survivor's guilt. Why did my dad make some decision so that I'm here right now? Do you know what I mean? I felt I couldn't look away from my phone at all. And I spoke to other Palestinians online around that time who also lived abroad, who grew up like me, half, or, grew up somewhere else. And we all said we have this insane level of survivor's guilt, which is why are they there and we're not? And why, what can we do if we're not watching who is? So I just was reading comments, everyone was I can't, it's the first thing I look at in the morning, and I'm just scrolling and watching all these horrible videos, and I know that this is insanely traumatic to watch, but if I'm not watching, who is? And this is kind of how I felt at the time, and that was also a real sense of connecting with Palestinians in diaspora, around the world. I was this is the first time I felt a real community of people who were describing exactly how I felt. When I hear the word, I feel something in the pit of my stomach, but outwardly I don't feel you know, I don't feel like I want to sit and cry. I feel like I need to like get up and go now. Like it's motivation, because it's just like 75 years is too many years, and I don't want it to be another 75 years or another year even, or anything like this. I'm just like some, it's just such motivation when I hear that word now.